Hi traders, welcome to Elite Currency. My name is Chris. This video is going to be about cryptocurrencies. Going to take a look at what is going on with this bullish momentum that we're seeing in the market. Is it going to continue, and what targets could be in the near future in radar? Of course, this is based on technical analysis. So and with the cryptos, things are getting a little bit volatile. So it's a little bit difficult to say, but we're going to give our 2 cents on the top cryptocurrencies right now. Let's start with the Ethereum versus the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart. You can see that there was a huge momentum to the upside, and we are seeing a retracement right now. We see that price has a bullish pin bar at 38.2 Fib. This particular upside is showing strong momentum. So typically when you see strong momentum like that, you would expect a correction lower and a continuation higher. That is typically how it goes when you have large momentum. So we have a correction and price indeed respecting the 38.2 Fib for the moment. Price might test a little bit of a deeper Fib, like the 50 perhaps. I don't think it will break below the 50. Typically it wouldn't. Of course, with the cryptocurrencies, it also depends a little bit on what kind of news hits the radar and how that impacts price. Typically though, I would expect 50, 38.2 Fib bounce for a move up to the minus 272 target at around 830, perhaps an extension up to the minus 61.8 target, close to 1,000 for Ethereum versus dollar. Let's take a look at the higher time frames. Maybe let's start with the weekly chart even, and you can see how price was in a wedge like this. And we were talking about this wedge, I think, in a couple of videos back, but indeed, finally the wedge broke to the upside. We did have momentum prior to it, so classical kind of contracting triangle, an A here, this is a B, this is the C leg, this is the D leg, and down we go for the E leg. All right, so from that point of view, we can take this Fib off and put a Fib, a Nachi retracement tool from the very bottom here to the top, and you can see that price has neatly hit and passed the minus 61.8 target. So there could be an extension to the minus 1,000 target. Minus 1,000 target, minus 100 target, excuse me. I'm getting confused with these levels. I think that the momentum, depending of course how much bullish close we get on this monthly candle, if we get a good close, I would say above 600, that would be a confirmation of more upside. This is a weekly candle in fact, so let's see how this closes. But if there's a good candle close, if it's not all the way down at the end of the day below 500, that looks like a pretty good volatility candle for more upside next week, especially if it closes around 650 to 700, I would say, or 650 and higher, I should say. Monthly candle, not much info there. We still have to wait a couple of weeks for that. Daily chart, you can see, excuse me, the triangle a little bit better here, as you can see. Move back to the long-term moving average, move back to the long-term moving average. Then it stayed above the short-term moving average, and there was a break above it, and then there was a bull flag and another break. From this point of view, I think that this hook back will not go too deep, because this is the part where we have the most momentum. As I said, typically when there's that much momentum in the market, the retracement is not deep. So let's see. I should get somehow the angle doesn't work anymore. Let me correct this quickly. All right, there we go. So let's see if price bounces. I'm looking for how price will respond here. It's making kind of a slow correction. It fell below the 21 EMA at this moment. So I'm looking for kind of a correction that could maybe go to the long-term moving average or maybe break above these moving averages. That's the question. For the moment, it looks like an ABC correction, and this could just be a hook back for more upside. But it would have to break above this resistance trend line for confirmation of that. On the 4-hour chart, I would like to see a fractal, 2 fractals here at the 21 EMA support zone, and I think that that could provide the support needed for a new rally. 2 fractals at the 21 EMA, I think 1 or 2 would be a good kind of confirmation that price is bouncing at the moment. I think that this candlestick is already a good early signal. Small kind of risk might make sense here, but the fractals would confirm that in my view. All right, Bitcoin daily chart is just going crazy, and that could be a little bit annoying if you're not in Bitcoin like myself. But yeah, that basically, who expected that price would break through the 10,000 level that quickly with that much force. I didn't. 10,000, a psychological ground level. Typically, I would have expected it to get a resistance, just like 7.5 did, just like 5,000 did. 10,000 did create, I guess, a little bit of a bounce, $2,000, although it actually bounced a little bit above 10,000. But that was just short-lived, and it rallied pretty much straightforward after that, and has continued from the break of 10, pretty much in 2 days, traveling all the way to 17, and now continuing again. So this bullish momentum is I mean, I thought that this was momentum. This is dwarfing, this current upside is dwarfing anything we've seen before, which from a wave perspective means that we're still in the middle of a wave 3, because that's where we typically see the most momentum. So there's, based on this momentum, it's just amazingly bullish. Quite fascinating to see from a technical perspective so much push into one direction. And well, difficult to say, we got pullbacks to the 21 EMA along the road. So as you can see here, that blue line indicating pullback. So we had pullbacks here and here and here, and most recently, again, this video is a little bit late, unfortunately, a couple of hours too late, because we could have warned you maybe for a particular kind of pattern correction here. Prices breaking above that might continue higher here. And for the moment, there's no divergence between these tops. Now, this break could, on the 4-hour chart, create some divergence. So I think that 20,000 with this breakout, considering the overall trend, psychological ground level might be envisioned. And then that maybe, just maybe, might create a little bit of retracement that could go back to maybe the same level, right? Maybe the same kind of zone that we see now could act as future support in such a retracement. And I'm talking about this zone specifically now, right here, that has just been broken. And that could act as support after a bounce of 20,000 back to this level, and up it could go. Because if this is a wave 3, there are probably many wave 4s and continuations lower. Eventually, price, I think, should get back to the long-term moving average. But it doesn't seem that that necessarily has to be soon. It has done that, of course, as you can see a couple of times. It will eventually. This is just a runaway train at this moment. Difficult to trade right now. It needs a pullback eventually, and eventually to at least this zone, and eventually later on, it should go even back to the 144 EMA. So that's something to keep in mind, that yes, price does make a retracement eventually to the 144 EMA. Even Bitcoin, you can see that it has done that several times in the last months. So that's not impossible in the future. It just might take a while. It probably will hit 20 and then retrace back to the support zone and bounce. That's my best estimate at this moment. All right, but as I said, it's such a fast train at this moment that overall it is difficult to make this kind of analysis on Bitcoin. Now, Ripple has been in a long-term consolidation, as you can see. This one also a bit difficult to trade if it's such a long-term consolidation. I like smaller patterns. This is quite a big pattern. But yes, it had a good breakout candle. Let me show you right here. This one did have a couple of good days after that, or yeah, very good days. In fact, almost more than tripling at this moment. So this is a difficult one in the sense that it's such a long-term consolidation and such a spike. I'm not a big fan of such a movements, but yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on it if it retraces deeper. I don't think that this is a particular pair that has momentum on its side as yet. Why? Because I think that this is a spike breakout, and the difference is that spikes are a little bit more vulnerable for deeper retracements. So I think, in my humble opinion, what I've, from technical analysis, applying it for years and years on Forex, if I use that same kind of logic to cryptos, which is new, of course, relatively new, then I think waiting for a bounce deeper, maybe 61, 78.6 Fib, in this case, makes more sense from my point of view. We can zoom into the hourly chart. You can see already a pretty hefty downside up. I would like to see this follow through and get into the long-term moving average, maybe the 61.8. Could be a good bouncing spot there. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on. All right, Bitcoin Cash not having the same volatility or movement, I should say, It did make a spike up, big move up actually from what is this, 200 actually? No, 300-ish, up to all the way 2,500, then moved all the way down to 800, yep, and now back up to close to 2,000. So kind of following its tracks a little bit with Bitcoin, but not the same, obviously. This was a pretty hefty wick and back in consolidation at this moment. So it's not the same. It is making more of a corrective pattern. It did break this pattern. I think that probably keeping an eye, there are some support fractals here, all right? So it does make sense to keep an eye on this support trend line and see how price could respond to, yeah, probably around these tops here and these bottoms and this support trend line. Let's see how price responds to this level. I mean, if it breaks below that, there could be a bigger correction, I would say probably to this broken top here and this bottom. It has been already used once though, gotta be careful about that, but all right, so there could be another bounce at the long-term moving average. So either of these purple lines here, all of these purple lines could be potential bouncing spots to the upside. Let's see which zone basically holds for this cryptocurrency. All right. Now Litecoin. Let's zoom out to the daily charts, weekly charts. Yeah, that's relatively quite a spectacular push up, considering the fact that Litecoin had a high of 90, then was around 50 all the time. The move from 50 to 300 is almost like, no, it's actually more than a ripple, relative wise, right? Yes. So quite spectacular, as you can see, as well, even more than Ethereum, relatively wise, and that all within the last week or so. So big momentum up, triangle, and momentum. We're getting some correction. Where could that correction end? So probably prudent to put a fib from here to here, this fractal. And I am trying to, this looks more like a spike as well, like Ripple. So I think a deeper correction, my 2 cents at least, could make sense here as well. Maybe around 50, 61.8 fib bounce could be a good one for more upside. So keeping an eye on those fibs for the moment. All right, let's see how the price responds to these fibs, 50, 61.8 candlestick patterns here, or fractals here. Depends on how far this falls, right? Any of these fibs could be bouncing spots, 38, 50, 61, 78.6 fib. It really depends on how price falls. Is it slow and choppy, for instance, like this? Then the 50 fib might be more likely. If it's fast, corrective, and one more dip, then maybe the 61.8 or 78.6 fib is more likely. So that's something we'll still keep an eye on as price moves further. All right. So that's about it. Thanks for joining this video. If you want, check out elitecurrency.com for more free material, how to analyze charts using technical analysis. And above all, wish you all great trading. Cheers.